For years, Everard existed on the margins of a bustling market town. He was strong and capable, yet he spent his days carrying heavy loads for merchants who barely looked him in the eye. To the world of the wealthy, he was effectively invisible. He watched the rich men in their fine wool and assumed his poverty was a fixed point, a fate written in the stars. He believed he was destined to struggle because he was already working as hard as his body allowed. The trap was simple. Working within the standard daylight hours only provides enough to survive the day. It offers no surplus to build a future. His perspective shifted after helping an old merchant repair a broken cartwheel. Instead of a few coins, the man offered Everard a place by his fire and a specific observation about the nature of time. The old man noted that while the sun provides the same daylight to everyone, the man who uses the darkness before the sunrise sees the daylight twice. Everard was skeptical. His life was already defined by exhaustion, and the idea of sacrificing his only rest to wander in the cold dark seemed nonsensical. However, the pre-dawn hours represent the only unregulated, high-value currency available to the poor. It is the one window of time where no master or market can claim a man's labor. The first morning was a battle of physical friction. While the moon was still high, Everard forced himself out of bed. His body screamed at him to stay under the blanket, but he stepped out into the freezing, fog-covered street. He found himself in a quiet room. The village was a ghost town, devoid of the noise, the crowds, and the social pressures that defined his day-to-day survival. In this silence, his brain stopped reacting to immediate threats and began to observe. He noticed the wood that needed fixing and the opportunities in the empty market stalls, things he was too exhausted to see during the chaos of the afternoon. He started small. He found a broken axe head, sharpened it, and spent those early hours chopping firewood in the forest. For the first time, he was working entirely for himself. That afternoon, he sold the wood and bought a meal of meat. Savoring that food provided a realization. By seizing the morning, he had successfully reclaimed the first hour of his own life. Consistency turned that single meal into a system. Rain or frost, Everard was in the forest every morning, building an inventory of wood while his competitors were still fast asleep. This gave him a permanent first-mover advantage. He was at the market selling his supply to early buyers before the other vendors had even finished setting up their stalls. His math was simple. Coins from early sales bought a second axe and apprentice, doubling volume. He scaled further by identifying a treeless town 2 days away. Organizing a caravan to transport his supply there, he sold his wood for triple the price. His wealth wasn't the result of a sudden stroke of luck. It was the result of the relentless compounding of hours that no one else wanted to use. Years later, Everard was a wealthy trader with a massive warehouse. He had instilled a culture of discipline in his business, ensuring his entire crew was awake and active at 5 a.m. Everard's own role had evolved. He no longer chopped wood. He used the pre-dawn silence to find new markets and plan long-term logistics. His success came from being proactive. While his competitors woke up late and spent their day reacting to problems, Everard spent his mornings shaping his environment and making decisions before the noise of the world could interfere. This strategy allowed him to move his mother from their old hut into a stone house with a real fireplace. The heat of that fire was the physical proof of the time he had reclaimed. He realized that the greatest leverage comes from using the morning silence to outthink everyone else. As an old man, Everard took his grandson to the river before dawn. He handed the boy a sharpened axe, passing down the same habit that had built his empire. He told the boy that the dark is only intimidating to those without a purpose. With a goal in mind, the early morning becomes a sanctuary. The modern world is louder and more distracting than ever. This makes the silence of the early morning the most valuable resource you have. Success depends on what you choose to do with that silence. Your future is built by the choices you make every single day in the dark, before the world tells you what to do.